Good day, guys. Going to go through, so I'm going to do race 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 to start at Hawkesbury. Raining, beautiful, downgraded to a 9. Further scratchings, I think we're down to like 56 scratchings or something crazy now. But we'll see what we can do. Okay, so the track is a true rail, heavy 9. Difficult to understand how it's a 9. So last time, similar conditions, you could sort of track up in behind. They do tend to spread here and weave through gaps, or like a lot of the tracks in Sydney at the moment, they could start gravitating towards the outside fence just due to wear and tear, and certainly seems the freshest ground and the best drying part of the track. So bit of a pumpkin. The answer's a pumpkin at the moment. The answer's a pineapple of how the track's going to play, and that's why I probably want to not commit to the last few races, which are the better races of the day. Hawkesbury Rush is race 6, but it's only a small field, and you'd expect them to sort of be able to adapt to the pattern no matter what happens. So I've not done the highway. It just looks horrible. I've got further scratchings there. I will send out a market, but I'm not going to bother previewing it. Race 1 for the 2-year-olds, Clarendon Stakes over the 1400. There's a few jumping. There's 4 horses jumping from 11 to 1300 here, which is obvious queries. A couple of them do look one-paced and suited to 1400, but still a query jumping, second up on a heavy surface. The early favourite is Basquet. 38 days between runs, has trialled. It's one of the horses jumping from 11 to 14. I think it's a bit tight in the market, can win. I thought the horse that looks an out-and-out 1400 metre horse of those horses that's sort of jumping is Burgunder from the Waterhouse stable. It's likely to sit outside Master Showman again, who is also jumping in trip, coming out of that same race. But I think Burgunder's definitely the one of those two that will appreciate the 1400. Basquet looks to sit right behind them, gets its chance. Green Shadows, who's already won 2 races, won over 1400 metres, has been very well placed. Also gets that nice run sort of just behind them and should be able to get wherever it wants to in the run. The horse that I thought was very good on debut was Owen County, another one that's won over 1400. Was pace assisted there, but sustained a long run and did look to sort of tie up a little bit late, as in got a little bit tired, but still hit the line. Says there's more improvement to come. 1400, not a problem. Wet track, not a problem. And if it's down the middle from the start, it's the one that probably rips down the widest runner in the straight. I think the value lies in Burgunder of the on-paces and Owen County of the closers. If I was playing in the race, and as I said, there are a lot of queries in about how the track's going to play, how a few of these horses are going to handle the surface. They've never seen it before, and sort of jumping in distance. They're the two. There is another knockout in Awesome John, very nice name. Wish I had picked it up myself, but it sort of got too far out of its ground last start and worked home quite well. Just basically given no hope from where it settled in the run, and it can improve, but again, it's probably going to be out the back. So it looks the knockout. A lot of chances, a lot of horses that can improve, and a lot of queries in this race, but I think Burgunder and Owen County are the two I'd most gravitate towards here. One going to be up the front and one closing. Race 3, the midway, the map at the start's the problem here. You've got Margie B kicking up. Knight will take a sit, I would imagine. Momac can really get running, so it'll be up there. Jazzland's another horse that wants to find an on-pace position, but I would imagine it tries to take a sit. And then you've got Highly Desired and French Bonnet coming across. French Bonnet really needs a fair bit of luck to find a spot early without sort of sitting outside leader, which could be a nightmare here. They really could go fast. If it ends up outside leader, I think that's a bit of a problem, unless Highly Desired somehow spears to the front and it just follows it across. But I would imagine that horses like Margie B and Momac want to kick up from the inside and could make them all work. If French Bonnet sort of slots in 5th, 6th, it's certainly the one to beat. The horse on the up that's down in the weights it's not down in the weights, it's Divine Breath, who was an emergency, and it's the one that's going to get back a bit more. It certainly got the perfect run last start and couldn't get it done against French Bonnet, and I'd imagine it gives it a bigger start here, but there's a chance that French Bonnet does a lot more work in the run this time, and that may be enough to turn the tables. I do think they look the obvious two. The others that can improve, probably Knight is the one that's drawn to improve, and the others are all pretty one-pace types in Margie B, Momac, Highly Desired, that really need to control races to get the best out of them, and they're unlikely to get that here. And I honestly think French Bonnet gets a nice run. It's a one to beat. Divine Breath is the most obvious of the closers, but I can see anything winning this race. It's a very ugly race. They could be very fast run, and they could be coming from everywhere, charging the Light Brigade stuff late. Race 4, 1800 metres, and not much speed on paper. You've got Mission Phoenix and Global Osbred, the two that are most likely to roll forward. Global Osbred didn't show a lot of speed last time, really had to work from that outside draw to get to the front, and even though there was not much merit in that last section, the amount of work it did in the front half of the race, and again, Canterbury up on speed, obviously the right spot to be. Its win was very good. It's a horse right on the up, strong type that can get an easier run here, whether it leads or sits outside Mission Phoenix or behind it, depending on what sort of happens there early. I think it's the horse to run down clearly. Carlapore was a very impressive first start over the 1500, got the best run you've ever seen there. Sat midfield, never went round a horse really, just sort of carved through the middle of them, got around the leader and won. Very solid time and ran a nice rating and all that sort of thing there, Carlapore. So it's definitely the horse to beat here if it repeats that. It's just a matter of whether it sort of gets back a bit or gets caught wide. There's a few queries about where it's going to be in the run here, and jumping to 1800 doesn't look a problem off its New Zealand form, but a query nonetheless, and you're taking pretty short odds. I think it's around $2.40 at the moment. Certainly the one that looks the main closer, and I thought Shibley, who ran against Carlapore last start, can also be on the up this prep, and with a little bit squeeze early, could probably end up just behind the speed here and in a better position than Carlapore, which could see it being the value at around $13. So I thought they were the main three. Get the idea. Will run honestly. It should get a nice run too. Mr. G, just 47 days between runs was my worry with it. And the horse up from Melbourne, Deep Strike, thought it was a very small horse that may struggle to sort of stretch out in prep racing well. But I thought it was stepping right up in grade here and likely to give some nice horses a start. So the map's a problem for it, and I think the class is interesting back in trip. I don't think that's going to hurt it, especially with the wet surface. Can it win? Of course it can win, but I think it's very short. So Global Osbred, the one to run down. Carlapore, the main closer. Shibley should get a nice run to improve as well. Race 5, pretty straightforward. The map looks here with the two stablemates, Authentic Jewel most likely to bust through and lead, and Queen Bellissimo shouldn't have to work too hard to get outside it. I'm giving the nod to Queen Bellissimo of these two runners. Similar spells, similar trials leading in. Both look like they're going quite nicely. I just like that Queen Bellissimo's got that 1200, 1250, 1400 metre wins in its form lines, and I think that's going to stand it in good stead first up here. Like, it flies first up. Win at 1200 metres first up last time in, did get its way, but still, a strong effort. Did improve a little bit throughout its prep, but not as much as Authentic Jewel did. My worry is that Authentic Jewel sort of resumed at sort of 900, got beat 1100 second up, then back to 1000, worked up to 11 and 1200 metres later in its prep. This time it's up first up 1100 on a heavy surface, likely to be on the inside there. A jockey that's not super strong. Very easy for me to see the stablemate sitting outside it and just being a little bit too strong for it if it's a dogfight late. First up, you've got Selena Dreaming, who's going to get that nice run behind it on the fence. Is that going to be the spot to be? I'm not sure. Sacramone seems very short off an unlucky run first up. Just thought this was a harder race here, even though it's down in the weights compared to last start. Lancaster Bomber gets a nice run. Foxfight is always dangerous down the middle of the track, but certainly a horse that seems to be shy of the winning post a bit and needs to time its run to perfection. Queen Bellissimo, the hardest to beat here. Authentic Jewel can win for sure. Thought they were the main two controlling the speed, and there are some dangerous stalkers if the fitness gives out on the two wit-up runners, but they do look to get full control, and they're both tough winning types that have good strike rates, so they'll be able to beat. And the 6th, the goal, Hawkesbury Rush. Malkovich, after scratchings, does look to get full control, like the blinkers coming off. Had a nice blowout there in between its last run and now 42 days. So it'll be ready to go. Stable not exactly in their best form, and that's a bit of a query for me about taking short odds this horse. I thought the horse to beat, to hold off, was Tycoonist. Not sure. I think I'd rather it a pair back the way it's been ridden. I don't see them that being an issue. I'd rather it a pair back than a pair closer here, and I think it can finish off hard compared to these. There's not too many runners that can sustain a run. Marbouche is pretty weak. our Bellissimo Miss can put in a short sprint, but again, not super strong horse. Trumble's not going as well as it can, and Surreal Step has 1400 metre form, but it's a bit more one pace, so it's the one that probably gets first crack at him down the outside if something's running on Surreal Step, and then Tycoonist is the one that should be finishing over the lot of them. And I think it's very dangerous here if Malkovich is vulnerable, which is, it's potentially vulnerable late. It's just that sort of horse, and 1100 metres heavy is probably as far as the horse wants. It's only ever won over 1100, never really been tested too much past that. But 1100 on heavy can probably make him a little bit vulnerable late. And he's not a horse that has a really strong turn of foot either. So something like Tycoonist is always going to be dangerous for a horse like Malkovich if he doesn't get his own way. I'll come back with 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'll send through a market for race 2, but won't send through a update for it. Good luck, and anything else I'll send through as well for Brisbane and Newcastle. Cheers, guys.